Ralphus braced himself against the hollow table as the mist wolf plummeted towards the surface of Halfin. The main power of the Bellator was out, but the auxiliary power was keeping the life support and some semblance of the shields online. He watched as the mist wolf penetrated the clouds like a hot knife through butter. Imperial forces on the ground and New Republic soldiers watched as a Bellator-class Star Destroyer careened across the sky above. The Mistwolf's hull had orange flames form around it as it crashed into a forested valley with a violent sound to follow. And then, silence. Ralphus woke up to find himself slumped over the hollow table. He surveyed the bridge as he tried to regain his bearings. He saw several officers bleeding out on the floor, and some of them dead on their consoles.
Natalie, where are you?
He shouted.
Yes, sir, Natalie replied.
Contact the medical staff, Natalie, and tell them to check the whole ship for wounded.
Yes, sir,
Natalie replied as he stumbled towards the console. As he got off the hollow table, Ralphus tried his best to keep stable. He looked around the bridge and saw a nearby officer. Ralphus knelt down next to her. She was silent. Ralphus thought she was a goner. When she began to moan, Ralphus realized she just woke up. He quickly tore a piece of his uniform and made a makeshift bandage for the officer. As Natalie keyed a set of buttons on the console, he sighed as none of them responded.
Admiral,
he called.
comm channels are dead. So is the auxiliary power. Damn it. Have you tried using the emergency comms channels? We need to contact Head Engineer Molo and the rest of the medical crew now. Haven't tried that yet, sir, he replied as he keyed another set of buttons. Ah, finally, got it, Admiral. Engineer Molo, can you hear me?
A grizzled and confused voice responded.
Natalie, good to hear you guys are alive. Before you ask, yes, we are trying to get power back, and we have contacted the medical staff. They are beginning to do a sweep of the ship.
Excellent. We'll contact you as soon as power is restored.
Affirmative.
Then the comms went silent. 2 hours went by as they tended to the crew. They rested the dead next to the elevator shaft. Ralphus leaned against the console and stared out at the greenery surrounding the ship from a broken window. He sighed as he removed his officer's coat. He stared at the rank on the uniform as he slumped down. What was I thinking? My blind hatred for these rebels, my burning feelings to avenge my crew. I allowed them to outflank the Mistwolf, and now here we are, stuck in a valley. I'm unfit to be an admiral. Natalie looked at him from across the room and slowly approached him. Sir, I just contacted Molo. He says comms and power will be back online soon. Furthermore, Commander Trenk and his stormtroopers have secured a 1-kilometer space surrounding us. They have found several smaller paths that lead all the way to the ship, so they set up a bunch of outposts. What of our ties and ground armor? Ralphus replied. Fortunately, sir, the hangar bay, unlike the rest of the ship, is hanging over a small pit that leads off to the west. When power comes back online, we can lower the heavy armor down and begin construction of ramps and other things needed to get the armor to surface level. Good, Ralphus said as he nodded his head. How many of our walkers and fighters are left? Well, sir, we have about 20 or so AT-AT walkers, with 30 or so AT-STs as support. I think a company of hovercraft or hover tanks are with us as well. A dozen starfighter squadrons are left, sir, despite losing most of our fighters up in orbit. That being said, we are still in the process of checking those vehicles to see which ones are working and which ones aren't. I see, Ralphus said. Well, I guess we will have to wait then. Another 30 minutes go by as the bridge crew rest about. Then suddenly, the lights come back on and the consoles flicker to life. The hum of the electronics are drowned out by the shouts and praise of the bridge crew. The turbolift doors then open and a group of medics enter the bridge, immediately tending to the wounded. A medic approaches Ralphus, noticing the bleeding coming down from his right temple, but Ralphus waves it off, pointing towards another soul who needs it more than him. Molo and Trank soon come up the turbolift. Molo was a tall and large man. His face had a long and bushy mustache and beard. Although sounding grumpy and discontent, he usually doesn't mean it. Trank, on the other hand, was clad in his stormtrooper armor. He was a tall man as well. His weapon was holstered to his side. His helmet was under his left arm as he entered the room. His face had a huge scar from his upper right. Molo and Trank approached Ralphus, both of them looking at each other as they neared him. "Admiral, as you can see, we have been able to get our auxiliary power back online," Molo said. "Good. Thank you, Molo. You are part of the original engineering team, right? How long till we are airborne again?" Molo paused for a moment. Given the fact that the hull is still fortunately intact, Admiral, I would say about 36 hours. No interruptions, however. As for the shielding, I can do that in 2. Weapons-wise, I don't think so. We have no functioning weapons anymore. Ralphus nodded at Molo's answer and turned towards Trank. "Status of the crew?" he asked. "Several of the mess halls and crew quarters are being used as housing stations, Admiral. Some of the turbolifts, however, are out of action and need time to repair." "Okay then," Ralphus replied. "What of the security for the ship?" he asked. "We secured a 1-kilometer defense zone," Trank replied. "Our scouts found 7 roads that lead straight towards our ship. I don't think it was planned for us to crash here, Admiral, but I believe we crashed into a valley with a facility of some kind, something we flattened during the crash. I've deployed our troopers to set up a ring of 20 outposts along those 7 routes, with a further 16 to protect our exposed rear." Ralphus nodded to himself. "Thank you," and the 3 of them began to walk towards the hollow-table. "We are in a defensible position, but we are in a vulnerable state," he said. "If the New Republic were to attack us now, then we would be outmatched and destroyed." As they reached the hollow-table, Communications Officer Calic approached them. "Admiral, we are receiving an Imperial signal." "Put it through," Ralphus said. "Yes, sir," and she began to key buttons on the hollow-table. The projection of an Imperial ground commander came into view, and he began to say, "Hello. To any Imperial forces who survived that crash, please respond." Ralphus looked on. "This is Admiral Ralphus of the Bellator-class Star Destroyer Mistwolf." "Ah, finally, a response," the projection said. "We've been trying to contact you guys for hours." Ralphus said, "Do you mind telling me who are you?" as he rested his hands on the table. "I am Commander Yowaski of Cradle Base, sir," the projection replied. "An Imperial refit and supply base. We are currently tending to the understrength 55th Heavy Armor Division." Ralphus nodded. "I see. How's the situation in the capital?" "Not good, sir. The New Republic have captured it. Command is planning an attack to try and retake it, although we only have a handful of understrength divisions and a small stockpile of supplies, though." "What about Moff Talden?" Ralphus asked. "We haven't heard from him, sir. He's also responsible why we lost contact with the city. The bastard pulled several of our divisions from their prepared defenses back into the city, because he feared it would be captured." Politics. Politicians as well. Ralphus could hear the anger in Yowaski's voice. A soldier came into the hologram and whispered something to Yowaski. "Bad news, Admiral. We have received intel reports that the New Republic has dispatched 2 fresh armored divisions toward your position. As far as I know, they want to take your ship as a prize." Ralphus slammed the table. "I hope they are ready to be disappointed. We won't roll over and die just for them to take the prize." "I don't doubt that, sir. That's why I'm dispatching 2 armored convoys consisting of heavy walkers to your location. The first one will try to delay one of the armored divisions. The other one has supplies. I think you will need it. We have also learned that these 2 divisions are the 15th and the 16th armored divisions." Anything else? Ralphus asked, his face filled with worry as he heard the amount. One last thing, Admiral. They are going to try and approach you from several directions. They will also try to blitz you from the huge gash you guys made in the crash. The rear of your ship, basically. And finally, they will arrive in the next 3 to 4 hours. Thank you, Yoaski, Ralphus said. Good luck, Admiral, Yoaski replied as he saluted. Then the transmission ended and his hologram disappeared. Ralphus turned to Trenk and Molo. Natalie sat beside a console as a medic treated his injury. There was blood trickling down his arm as he watched the Admiral and the other two talk from across the room. He had heard the transmission and what they were talking about, but he was too weak at this point to join and stand up. Then he fell asleep. Molo, how long till that ramp of ours is complete? About 2 hours, sir, Molo replied. What if Trenk gave you troopers to assist in the construction? Then an hour then, Molo replied. Good. Ralphus looked at Trenk. Do we have any spare? Yes, sir. I will dispatch them to help out. Ralphus nodded. Do this right, gentlemen, and we will be fine. Hell, we will be able to give the New Republic a taste of revenge. He saluted the two of them and watched as Molo and Trenk approached the turbolift and left the bridge. Thank you. Thank you both. Ralphus thought to himself, we can still fight, and I will join in this fight. They may try to take my ship, but they won't be successful.